10 years, $700 million. He made his decision, and Shohei Ohtani is going to be a Los Angeles Dodger for the rest of his life. When all was said and done, he went exactly where we all thought he was going to go. Boring. Okay, maybe there was a point on Friday where I thought he was going to be a Blue Jay. The initial reactions to the number 700 million were understandably all over the place. And then we got hit with the craziest news of all. Shohei Ohtani is going to be deferring $680 million out of that $700 million contract.
What?
We're here today to break down how this is all possible and the implications it's going to have to the Dodgers payroll. So when I saw that number, I had the same reaction as anyone else. How is it possible for Shohei Ohtani to only be making $2 million per season? And how are they allowed to defer that much money? And I'll start by saying this, what the Dodgers and Ohtani have done, it's 100% absolutely allowed under the current collective bargaining agreement. They did not break any rules. Some people are looking at it in all sorts of different ways, but everything they've done, perfectly okay, perfectly fine to do. And we'll get into some of the reasonings why. So first off, there is a specific section in the CBA that's been there for a really long time that says that there are zero limitations to the amount of deferred money. And this is something that's put there by the MLB Players Association, and that I'm pretty sure that the owners actually, I think they tried to amend it or limit it, but the players don't want it. They want to say, you know, we're the players, we want to be able to make as much money as possible, have that go on for as long as possible, depending on the contracts and stuff like that. So with no limitations, Ohtani basically could have, deferred his entire salary. But I mean, when you're talking about $700 million, 97% of it basically is 100%. He's basically deferring his entire salary. I mean, the Dodgers are paying $2 million a year. That's nothing. Just to put it into context, there's a few players that are retired that are going to be getting paid more in 2024 by their old teams, the likes of, Chris Davis, Ken Griffey Jr., Dustin Pedroia, all guys like that are still on payroll, still getting paid by their teams, and they're going to be making more than $2 million this year. So one of the first questions that people seem to have is, why would Shohei Ohtani want to do this? And, maybe why don't more players want to do this? And it's a pretty simple answer. So, this was 100% from what they're saying. This was Shohei Ohtani's idea. It came from, his agents, his camp, him, the player himself. He's a unicorn. He is one of one. And that being said, there are not a lot of Major League Baseball players that make a ton of endorsement money. When you look at the NBA, all these shoe deals, guys are making, just as much, if not more, outside of basketball than they do playing it. But that is not the same in Major League Baseball. This is where Shohei Ohtani really stands above the rest. Ohtani made approximately $40 million last year from endorsements. The next highest was Mike Trout, and he's right around $5 million. So that's a big gap, $35 million in between. And so that just goes to show how rare Ohtani is in the market right now. So reason number one, he doesn't need the money right now. He's getting paid from all sorts of different outlets. So the number two reason is that Shohei Ohtani wants to win. And so when he wants to win, what he wants to do is he wants to be able to give his organization the best chance they have to put together the best team they can. So he's going to take this massive, pay cut, we'll call it, and that's going to allow obviously the Dodgers to, continue to pursue other top target free agents, maybe make some trades, and they'll have more of their payroll to work with. So wait, does this mean that the Dodgers only have $2 million count against their payroll? No, that is absolutely not the case. We're going to try and explain just how this works, how it's going to affect their payroll. So for Major League Baseball, the salary that you actually pay the player and the salary that counts against the luxury tax are in a lot of cases the same, but in some cases, especially like this, they're two different numbers. So basically how it's going to work for Ohtani is Shohei Ohtani is deferring $680 million for 10 years down the road. So from 2034 to 2043, he's going to be getting paid that $680 million. Basically, how the value of the contract is going to work today is taking into account, inflation and interest rates. It's saying that how much money is $680 million in 2034 going to be worth today. They do the math, they look at all this, and the number that it comes out to, I don't have the specific calculation, but basically what it works out to a little over $460 million. So to explain this, we're going to compare it to all those memes you see about this is how much groceries cost 10 years ago. This is how much this same pile of groceries cost today, but kind of in reverse. So obviously everything is more expensive today than it was 10 years ago, which means that the contract now is going to be worth less than it is 10 years from now. So you take $68 million a year, 10 years from now, you work it back through the calculation, it works out to about $44 million a year in 2024. You take that number, 44 million, and you add the $2 million that you're going to be paying him in actual money this year. And then you get that number, $46 million. So $46 million is what's going to be counted against the Los Angeles Dodgers and their luxury tax payroll. So basically, instead of hearing, $700 million over 10 years equals $70 million, the value of the contract, if you do all the math, it works out to about $460 million. So right there, the Dodgers are saving approximately $24 million a year by deferring this money. So what that does, obviously, is it just frees up some more money on the payroll for 2024 for the Dodgers to use how they would like. Now, the other question that a lot of people has is, okay, so if they're only paying him $2 million, but the salary is being counted as $46 million, what happens to that extra $44 million? So from what I learned, the CBA requires teams to fully pay out the present day value of the contract within 2 years of when it's earned, which means that basically what the Dodgers are going to have to do is they'll take $44 million in cash, put it into an escrow account. It's going to grow interest over time. And 10 years from now, that 44 will grow into 68. And then they'll pay Shohei Ohtani the $68 million in deferred money. So they are paying that $44 million. It does count, but it kind of just sits there. And then they use that money later on to actually pay Shohei Ohtani. I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little confusing. Now, you can look at other examples, guys like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Obviously, we know the Bobby Bonilla case. Deferring money is not a new thing. It's been done for a long time, but obviously never to this scale. Usually it's, $2 to maybe $10 million that's getting deferred per year. So it doesn't really change the present day value of the contract so much. That's why Shohei Ohtani is such a special case. It's going from $2 million is what he's actually getting paid, but the value of the contract is $46 million. So that's what counts against the Dodgers payroll. Now, another question is, why doesn't every team do this? And I guess the simple answer is most players aren't going to want to do this. Most players, you're working up to get that big contract, right? Maybe you start in the minor leagues, you're grinding out in the minor league system. Major League Baseball is not set up to pay young players very well at all. There's, you have to get X amount of service time before you can become a full-time player. And then you go through the arbitration process, which is basically the team and owners trying to pay you as little as possible for as long as possible. And then you finally maybe hit free agency once, you've been in the league for maybe anywhere from 4 to 8 or 9 years. And then you're looking for that big payout. So once you get there, basically that big contract that you get once you finally hit free agency is kind of reimbursing all the years. It's not, most people aren't making $30-40 million a year in endorsements. Perfectly fine. Say, hey, yeah, absolutely. Give me that money 10 years down the road. No, they want all that money right now. And it totally makes sense. I would too. The biggest concern and I guess outrage, you can call it, that people have had is that although everything is perfectly fine, perfectly legal, it just feels slimy. I don't know the word. It just feels like something you shouldn't be able to do to this degree. And I get it. I mean, I was very salty. I'm a Blue Jays fan. When all this came out, I was like, what? This doesn't make sense. Apparently, this same offer was kind of on the table with this structure from Shohei to all the teams that he met with that were finalists. And obviously, he ultimately chose the Dodgers. Boring. It is what it is. That's kind of beside the point. Now, the question seems to be, is this good for baseball? And I guess there are two sides of it. The one side that, a lot of writers and everybody are defending is the Dodgers being the Dodgers, the Yankees being the Yankees. Those are the biggest draws in the sport. The better the players, the better those teams are, the more people are watching baseball. The more that people are watching baseball, the better it is for everyone, right?
Not this time.
The other side of it, which I think the majority of us baseball fans, is that it just doesn't feel fair. It feels like a way to work it around so that the rich can get richer and that, the smaller market teams can continue to use the excuse of, I can't afford to do this anyway, so why bother even trying, right? Look at the Oakland Athletics or the Las Vegas Athletics. So how is that good for the sport? Because in a perfect world, you want every team to be just as competitive as the next. But that kind of is how baseball is. Even if the Dodgers go and they sign everybody, they trade for everyone, they load up their team. On paper, sure, they're going to be the best team in the league, but does that mean anything? Does that mean they're guaranteed to win the World Series? Absolutely not. Just look at last year. Texas spent a ton of money. They brought in a lot of, big star power. as the season went on, even into the playoffs, nobody thought the Texas Rangers were going to make the World Series. Nobody thought the Diamondbacks were going to make the World Series, myself included. And we got two teams that, got hot at the right time, were healthy at the right time, and made it to the World Series. Now, these numbers aren't going to be 100% accurate because you never know kind of who's going to be on your team the entire year, who you're going to be paying what, all the arbitration salaries and stuff like that. If they're going to make any trades, we're just going to use estimations right now. But approximately right now, the Dodgers have just a little over 177 million on the payroll before all of the arbitration cases and stuff go through, which 177 million, the luxury tax threshold for 2024 is 237 million, which right now leaves them about $60 million underneath that tax threshold. And that means the Dodgers have a lot of room to play with as far as building their team, even before they even get to the threshold, let alone going over it, which they likely will. So you can do a lot with $60 million in payroll. And if they're going to push it over the tax, to stay in the in the first kind of level of the tax bracket, they could go spend another 20 million above that. So that's another 80 million they could spend. They would get taxed a little bit, maybe $10 million, something like that. If they go above that, they pay more tax and stuff like that. We're not going to get into all of that. But basically what this all has done is it just allows the Dodgers to keep doing what they're going to do. They've been clearing this payroll for years. They made a run at it. They got him. They have their guy. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they do for the rest of this offseason. There are already just so many rumors swirling. Things may have happened by the time this video even drops. Let me know. What do you think about this contract, the way it's structured? I want to know everybody's comments. Put them down below. And man, I'm just looking forward to baseball in 2024. I appreciate everybody watching. Have a great day. I hope I explained this. I did my best. I tried really hard. Like and subscribe.